All right, and that's it from the world of sports. But as I mentioned earlier, the presidential race done and dusted. Now all focus on the 13th House as Parliament convenes this coming Thursday. And my two guests are going to be in that Parliament. They've been both out for the last 10 years, and we're going to be talking about that in just a bit. Honourable Sirma, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Honourable Farah Maalim, welcome to the program as well. I know we've hosted you in other shows, but this time around we're going to be having a slightly different conversation.
Thank you.
And Honourable Sirma, I actually want to start with you on this one. How does it feel to be back?
Wow, it's great. Thank you, Waiga, because it is the people of Eldama Ravine who said I should be back. And that's why I'm here.
And that's why you're... How was the time outside for you, Honourable Farah Maalim?
Well, I must say I always had a full life myself because I was the... I've been the deputy party leader. So I, of course, was not in Parliament, but I was there in the picture all the time.
You were working behind the scenes, one way or the other.
On topical, not behind the scenes, up and there. You were hosting me here all the time. And every other station was hosting me too. I think I'll probably be a member of Parliament or the politician who gets demands for hosting by every TV station in this country. I don't know why, more often than anybody else. So I've always been active on topical issues. And that has a lot to do with the kind of elections, you know. It doesn't matter whether you lost or you won, but if you're not pronounced as a winner, then you've lost. So I'm one person who held that, just like other politicians, I've had politically, what you call, I was the political correctness. You know, you remember I was in the opposition those early days when everybody from my region was in Kanu. So it was tough. I mean, it took 10 days to count 10,000 votes in 1997 when I was running.
So we shouldn't be complaining when Chebukati takes his time.
Yes. So basically, and that's been the issue.
You've talked about winning or losing, and it's the nature of our political framework, fast past the post and so forth. And Honourable Sirma, help us understand, you know, for many who are watching who've never dabbled in politics, your immediate reaction when you get that call or that message from your agents that you haven't won this race. It's over. What happens? Do the phone calls stop? How does life change?
For me, I think my experience is that many people will always call me also. Not that the call stop, but because I had a very big fan base, and especially my friends who have stood with me. I've never lost to say completely without having numbers. My numbers were substantial. If you could go to 2017 elections, the different margin was about 200 votes, which I contested because it was all a lie. But all the same, I stood with my friends and my supporters for the duration, even when I was outside. I have never left them even a day because there is no function which I don't attend. There is no function where I don't give support. And my people have stood with me, and I have stood with them.
So what I'm hearing from both of you is you never quite... Yes, you did not have that title, right?
Yes.
But you never kept away from the start of the functions and the roles that you used to do when you were in elective positions.
Correct.
On a number of occasions, we never lost. We were rigged out. I mean, it's a simple, tough, what do you call,
I hope
difficult.
Those you beat this time round will not come here next week and say that...
Well, the possibility is there. They were, like I've said, if you've not been announced, it doesn't matter whether you won or not.
So what happened differently?
There was more. No. This time I can assure you there was a very, 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 very transparent, foolproof, and we had agents everywhere.
Okay.
And we got what we got, and everybody got what they got. If you got the votes and to give you take you over the edge and win, you won. If you didn't, then that's... I don't think there'll be that many petitions right now in the country. Very few petitions in the country. Because everything is not like last time. Last time, if you see the Deputy Registrar's report on my election in Garissa town, you'll be shocked. You just don't understand what kind of an electoral commission it was. But now it's different. Now it's very, very different.
And now you give them a clean bill of health.
Oh, yes. Oh,
For you,
yes.
Honorable Sirma, I'm sure you're looking forward to Thursday.
Yes.
As Parliament convenes, what are you most looking forward to, having been away for the last 10 years?
One is the expectations of my people, and also legislative program, given that my win was quite over 70%. My next person who was following was beaten by over 20,000 votes. So the expectations from my people is great. And I can say that I will measure up to their expectations, because we need to fulfill whatever we promised. And lucky enough, I'm saying I'm lucky, because I have, apart from what I can do as a person, I have a government with me. And I am grateful that God was able to give my party leader the opportunity to be President of the Republic of Kenya.
And on the back of that, what do you think specifically those expectations are from your people? We know the functions of a parliamentarian: oversight, representation,
yes,
legislation. Do you sense that there is more than that that is expected?
There is, because what people expect is development. Mm-hmm. And development comes with also bargain or looking up to the government to implement certain promises they have made, or our party. Like in Eldama Ravine, we have never had a tarmac road, even 1 inch, since the almost 20 years. We've never seen. And all the promises which were done, including tendering until the final stages, they were all thrown out.
Yes, when tarmac road in the whole constituency? Or?
Yes, no road which was built.
In the last 20 years.
In the last 20 years. And we have even a big dam, you know. Billions of shillings were used. And so far, we have finished almost 5 years looking at the dam. Nobody has utilized the water. The Chemsusu Dam, it costed about 7 billion Kenyan shillings.
Why?
He may not have that's why he's going to Parliament now. Yes, now he's going to find out.
And nobody has been able to do the distribution. The process of building the units or the lines to the public has taken so long. So we are hopeful that possibly if it is funding, then we should be able to follow on funding. If it is just the laxity of the contractor, then the contractor should be chased away.
I think that will need to be your priority.
Yes.
From Thursday, once you get into...
Because Eldama Ravine town lacks water.
Okay.
And yet we are in a high altitude area with the rivers, but of course we need treated, because the treatment works has not been completed.
Let me also bring Farah Maalim into this. His expectations for Tuesday, and many things could have changed over the last 10 years. I'm sure you might be looking at a slightly different Parliament from the one you left. I don't know if you'll find the sitting arrangement has changed, use of technology.
It's much bigger. No, the technology was there when we were there, in the 10th Parliament. The technology was there. Mm-hmm. And the renovation of Parliament was there. But the numbers, I left Parliament when we were 222. Now they got to almost, what?
349.
49.
Yes.
That's 100 plus more than that. So it's not an easy thing to get into a situation in which debates will be participated by that number of people. And during our time, debates were more lively. They were much more interesting. And we basically we took a lot of time to prepare ourselves for motions and for bills. And we were there. We were there. I think times have changed.
Yeah, what do you think has changed specifically?
I think the ones who were there during my time were politicians, proper politicians. And there are too many entrepreneurs right now who are there. Entrepreneurs who are there.
You're going to meet entrepreneurs, you're going to meet comedians,
you're going to meet
farmers.
Everybody, yes, everybody. People who have other...
journalists.
Yes, and
yes.
Who, you know, and during our time, you know, you would listen, and it was the envy of most democracies in the world, I remember hosting American delegations as the deputy speaker from the Congress on a number of occasions. And they were so fascinated with the manner in which our own debates were conducted. And the quality of debate, the content was massive. And then they were basically saying, look, we envy you. I don't think that's the situation right now. It's probably changed quite a bit. And then, of course, we had government coming from parliament. Members of parliament were ministers, and the same ministers were held to account.
In that same parliament.
For the actions and inactions in the same parliament by members of the backbench. And it was very lively, very, very lively. And, you know, with the
2010 Constitution.
With the 2010 Constitution. Some of the things that we need to change, I think, is that has got to change.
Musa Sirma, do you share the same concerns and sentiments, even as you look towards Thursday?
I think I share, because even the president-elect himself said we need to change the standing orders so that we can introduce, or we bring in ministers into the House to be grilled by members. So, in other words, is telling us that the old system where it is committee does not give proper opportunity to members to ventilate on the needs and interests of the people. Because when you discuss about insecurity, like in Baringo, where we have a big problem, you will find that the security committee will just be holed up in one place. There is no space for all the people to possibly even listen the cries of other Kenyans. So it is important that all this is exposed into the open, so that anybody, including a person in a different constituency, can be able to support us and be able to give a hand in terms of what are the needs of the people in the various areas. You may find floods in Western, in Nyanza. We have similar floods in other areas. We could be able to relate the two and be able to put the committee and the government to check in terms of saving lives, providing food. You know, people can just die nowadays without any mention of a disaster, you know? So people will just die on their own in one corner, and other Kenyans are enjoying in another corner.
There are solutions in the other part of the country that could have helped with that. Let me talk about two committees, for example, because I'll at some point want to hear your rating of the 12th Parliament. They say that for you to understand the future, you must review the past. And the 12th Parliament, according to a report by Mzalendo, in terms of missed opportunities, two were highlighted. The Sugar Saga Committee, that looked at, you know, the allegations of imports of sugar, which had mercury and so forth. And a joint departmental committee on agriculture, livestock looked at the allegations of illegal sugar importation. And it was marred with allegations of bribery and outside influence into how that committee ruled. We also have a committee that was set up to look at the COVID fund probe in both the National Assembly and the Public Accounts Committee, a forensic audit into how funds were used.
Yes.
And Kenyans today still ask, did we get value for money? Was justice done? Are you telling us, Farah Maalim, if we had the old system, there may have been a solution to some of the questions around these issues?
You see, the problem we have right now is that you're holding to account somebody who does not have the authority. An ordinary member of parliament who is just a committee chair is supposed to explain and say what the government did. You see what I mean? He's a legislator, he's a lawmaker. And here you trust him into the role of defending and protecting the government, because and all he has to do is that he's going to be brought the answers, and he just reads out those answers. He's not an insider. He's not somebody who can call the government ministries, the permanent secretary, the DSS, the undersecretaries, and tell them, I need this. You know, demand for action, order, give instructions on what to be done. No, he's just there. So we miss the times when responsibility, authority here you had authority, but you are called to account for that authority. Here you have somebody who has authority, but nobody calls him or her to account for that authority. You know what I mean? What they've done with it and what they made.
But isn't there a reason why Kenyans
the missions and the commissions?
These changes that
I had a problem even that time myself. You see, what happens is that I remember talking a lot. We tried to go and see so many jurisdictions to try and come up with something. Because there were two groups in Naivasha. One group was...
Those who were crafting the new
constitution. Yes. One group was for centralized, strong centralized government, more or less to...
Presidential.
Yeah, presidential, which was executive, yeah? And the other one was for a parliamentary system of government.
Yes.
And the old one was a hybrid of both.
Hybrid.
I mean, hybrid of both. So, I think in that there was a missed opportunity. There was a split within, if I remember very well, within the ODM brigade that time. That's actually when Jubilee started coming together. We already had a problem because of the Mau Forest, remember, and the issues of the current president and a lot of things with the prime minister at that time. So then they settled on the county issues. A number of what you call Rift Valley, senior Rift Valley politicians wanted to settle devolution to be at the regional level.
Yes.
You know, 8 or 10 or 15 or 14 provinces, yeah? But then the mountain region was for the centralized. And the rest of us in ODM were for what do you call a parliamentary system where there was a prime minister, and what do you call a ceremonial figurehead as a president. You understand my point? So in that, I think the strong presidential group and the ones who wanted a devolution that essentially emphasized more on the strong provincial governments, those two came together and they carried the day and they settled on the county's issue.
And we got what we have now.
So the parliamentary system lost out completely. And because
Musa, you agree on this?
First is, I would like to say that the best constitution Kenya would have had was the 2005 constitution, which we defeated because of the few changes which were done. The one which was called the Kilifi draft,
yeah.
Which was done, amendments by the late Nyachai. And it really killed the whole issue of a new constitution. What we had really put together at that time. 2005 constitution, if it was implemented as it came from Bomas, was the best constitution. We missed it. The second is the current, the current checks and balances, because that is where you are first, about the missed opportunities of the KEMSA and the agricultural issues of Sugar Saga.
And others.
I want to say that all of it were marred by falsehood, I believe, because nobody was sure about where the source of mercury came from. It was all a lie. I do suspect. But from that time, I don't even use sugar anymore because it became a problem. So, and I want to say that all that is when you take a committee into a room and convince them and they come and support themselves in the chamber without unity of purpose in terms of doing the proper legislation, we shall end up in the drain we have gone to. I would like to say it is very sad that we go and end up in such a manner. I would like us, and possibly I will beseech the members who have come in, let us mature up and build this country. Give this country their best. Because if we are going to be dangled with carrots and all this country will suffer.
And I'm going to be coming to that in just a bit. But Farah Maalim, I want to take you back to something interesting you said. You said we have a lot of new lawmakers who are entrepreneurs. What are the dangers of having a parliament where a significant stake of it is comprising of entrepreneurs?
The possibility is that state capture. The center will capture that. Because if the same people who are supposed to hold the center accountable for its actions and inactions are business people, then they have to go to deal with the center because they get the contracts from the center. You see what I mean? So there's a state capture of parliament. Right now, parliament is controlled from the State House. That's basically what it was. You will not even see those...
The outgoing State House, the incoming...
Well, the outgoing. The incoming, we'll see how he handles the situation now, whether it's going to be different, you know what I mean? But the outgoing one was a serious state capture, very, very serious state capture, where parliament was reduced to just a rubber stamp, essentially. Yes. Nothing more than that. Uhuru reduced this parliament to a rubber stamp. And unfortunately, we don't see here any cries. We don't hear any people, any protestations, any loud...
Did Wiper protest? And you
look, I was not... I'm not
Wiper?
I'm not in the parliament myself. I was in some of the most vibrant and most, brilliant parliaments. I was in the 7th parliament. I was in the 7th parliament with everybody you can imagine who was there. Kibaki, Nyachai, Onyonka, Oneko, Cheng Oneko, Dennis Okumu. I was with the old brains who were there right from the inception of this independence of our country. And it was a good thing. It was an excellent, experience. And Moyo, of course, was there as the president of the country. So I long for those days right now, let me be honest with you. There was a powerful intellectual, material in there. There was a lot of, good brains there. And those of us, I was one of the youngest. And I was very happy to be at the feet of those guys. And Jaramogi was there. Jaramogi, very elderly, but full of wisdom. So those days we used to handle things, and the late, Kijana Omalo was there. So a lot of things used to be, there used to be exhaustive discussions on some of these things. We'd get to the bottom of things. And in the 10th parliament, I remember sending out of the parliament one day 8 ministers.
Sending out?
Yes.
Expelling?
And barring them from transacting any business until they come with a proper answer.
Yes.
Because they basically came up with, they were not serious in their business. You see what I mean?
Will this incoming parliament, and Musa Sirma, will start with you, will it be an independent parliament, or will it be one that simply rubber stamps the will of the executive?
We would like to encourage members to be people of with positions and be able to be an informed parliament. Because, the worst part of it is you bring a bill into the House or an amendment of a certain law, and then members have not even read, but they have only come in to stamp in their presence by clocking in, and they clock out, and they move out of the House without even understanding what was going on. We would like to encourage members that they read each and every page of whatever legislation is coming, so that they are at an informed and an advantaged position to be able to take care of this country. And I want to tell you, Waiga, I was a minister, and I used to go with Kibaki to many meetings in the region. Kibaki was very thorough. And he would read every document and finally ask us, is this good for Kenya? I would like also to challenge my fellow colleagues and parliamentarians who have come. Think fast before saying aye or no, whether you are taking care of Kenya or not.
And I like what you're saying, and I'm wondering whether there's enough of critical mass of thinkers with the experience that you two gentlemen have in the National Assembly as you look at it right now. Can you bring about a resurgence of the level of debate and the action and the independence that Parliament had, or is it simply too late, Farah Maalim?
I think it's possible, and I'm looking forward to us moving certain changes in the Constitution also.
Moving certain changes in the Constitution?
Yes.
In the next 5 years?
And in the next 5 years, yes. Because in my opinion, I think we need to come back with that old system.
Yes.
Where, we can still have it as a hybrid, the way we have it, and where government comes from Parliament. Then you hold somebody with authority accountable for his actions or inactions, or high actions or inactions. But right now, we don't have that. We have ministers who have the power, who will never come to the House. You see what I mean? And there's no place where you can hold them accountable. Where do you hold them accountable? Because the same committee that's supposed to oversight them is a committee that he sends the answers to.
Yes.
Come and defend him on the floor of the House. So there's a serious problem. There was scintillating wit that was there in the 7th and the 10th Parliament. Was from outside this world. Let me be honest with you.
You speak about it with such nostalgia. Is that part of the reason why you are applying to be deputy speaker?
Well,
and some would have asked, why not try a different?
No, I'm okay. I've had a lot of requests. A lot of requests from both sides of the divide.
Oh, they've reached out to you?
Yes. Many people have reached out. Individuals have reached out to me to apply for that, to try and bring back some of the old glory of the House itself. And I think we did a good job when we were there ourselves. The judgment is out there. People will judge it, but I think people are happy with the way we managed it with Marende last time.
Talk to me.
And it was a very tough parliament, let me tell you. It was a very tough parliament because it was
this was 2008 to
2013. It was a parliament where there was a power sharing, the National Accord. And the National Accord,
yes,
which we created, was an act of parliament that only needed to be passed with a simple majority. Yeah? Yes. And that National Accord had powers over the Constitution. One of the provisions in there was that, I think one of the very opening provisions, that this accord, any written law that is not consistent with this
accord,
was voided to the extent of that inconsistency.
Yes,
which means it was above the Constitution. But that was a very special time because we saved our country through that. So the divide was almost 50-50. Remember when we went for the elections of the Speaker? The issue was just one vote. One vote that kept on going back and forth until finally, of course, my brother and my friend Marende got elected with that one vote. When I came in as a Deputy Speaker, I think there was much more than that. There were 20 votes on the margin. And
let me actually, on the back of that, then get your prediction this time around, because contrast that with the parliament you see now. Clearly on Thursday, one expects to see the dominance being between Kenya Kwanza, those allied to Kenya Kwanza, those allied to Azimio. Who do you see carrying the day?
I don't know.
And I want Musa to also answer that question.
I don't know. It all depends on. I could almost, with certainty, predict before the court determined this thing.
What's your prediction?
But now that the court has determined it, and we went for petition as Azimio, I think many people went and trooped to Kenya Kwanza, which is typical of our Kenyan politicians. Yeah.
Yes. So before the
people always run to the government of the day, and I mean that has been part of our political culture in here. You really can't blame many of them for that. So the jury is out there. Let's see how it turns out. It depends on the people who will be on the ballot. I think there's going to be kind of a do or die in both houses for the speaker, basically. And you know, some people might change their minds and vote their conscience. They will not vote the strict party line where they're instructed. They'll vote their conscience. So let's hope that whatever comes out of that is good enough for this country.
And on the back of that, we're hearing there are meetings tomorrow.
Yes.
An Azimio meeting, a Kenya Kwanza meeting. Musa Sirma, what's the agenda for the Kenya Kwanza meeting?
Of course, we're going to discuss about...
First of all, it's confirmed that there's a...
We have a meeting.
You're meeting President-elect in Karen?
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, we're preparing ourselves to the leadership also of Parliament, because we hope to carry the day. You know, you cannot just sit and wait and be told, now this is your day you have taken. So I'm sure the main agendas will be, what are we going to do from now as we move forward, including how we are going to vote? Because definitely, according to the numbers we have currently, we're going to carry the day. Yes. That is your prediction. And for you, Azimio has a meeting also with President Uhuru Kenyatta.
More or less, I don't know where the president is. He coming?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
I read an article.
He will be there. I don't think so. I doubt that very much.
But there is a meeting.
There is a meeting, yes.
With the same agenda.
More or less the same agenda, yes. Just to see how the party can, or the coalition can prepare itself for roles in Parliament. And I mean, that's normal. We had the same things also every time you come into Parliament. Both sides of the divide will congregate together and see what to take. And it's because of the closeness of that. You see, when you're in the government of the day, you would want to have your legislative agenda without any impediments.
Yes.
When you're in the opposition, you would want to be a very strong opposition to make sure that you hold the government accountable throughout.
Yes.
So there's that contestation. Both of them are right. Both of them are right in their own wisdom.
And this is what we can expect.
Yes, yes. But then the beauty of it should be there has to be a critical mass of intellectual polity puts into that thing, which means when we get into something, it's not just weeping and telling we are the government and let's go in this direction. You say that we're in the opposition and let's go in this direction. And you know, it doesn't work that way. In my opinion, there has to be a serious debate. There has to be a lot of material. The national interest comes first more than anything else.
What will it take for Parliament to say no to the executive? For parliamentarians to say no to their party leaders when they feel that what they're being asked to do goes against their conscience? Musa Sirma.
Of course, at times when there is a rift within the party, the way Jubilee behaved in the last time, because half of Jubilee was with the opposition and half of it was still remaining in government. And you see, most of the times, the coalition, which is the handshake, took the day and left the mother Jubilee to suffer. So it's just a matter of how do you put your numbers together. But what I said before is, let us be objective. Let us be objective, and especially when passing. Although as much as we would like to have our government to be able to move votes and be able to pass their legislative agenda in Parliament, we need also to see that we are really up to the task in terms of the quality of legislation we are going to do, so that we just don't pass laws without knowing the effect. Whatever comes, we shall be able to suffer, or we shall suffer at the outcome of it. I do remember when Orengo said a few years ago that the laws which was being done, the security laws which were done, he promised his opponents that it will be used against you.
Yes, yes.
And therefore, do not pass a law thinking that you are in a comfort zone, because currently, yes. We shall enjoy, God willing, the 5 years. Who knows after 5 years?
And so you're very aware of that, even as you are prepared to get in.
Being human, you must.
Yeah.
Yes, because don't just close your eyes and brain.
Okay.
And become just a voting machine in Parliament. Look at and become objective in whatever you...
And I actually have parliamentarians texting me. I'll be reading their feedback when we come back from a short break because we've got some messages. But Farah Maalim, let me allow you to also jump in on this.
The adage was that whenever you want to enact a law and a bill is in Parliament, as a member of Parliament, just picture or imagine that law in the hands of your worst enemy. If you're going to be comfortable with that, who are in authority that time, then go ahead and pass it. But if you know that it can be used against you and make life impossible for you, then you better stop it there and do what's in the national interest. You see, let me tell you one thing. At the end of the day, every member of Parliament should know the borderline between playing politics, partisan politics, and where national interest moves in. The moment the national interest comes into play, we should all read from one script. And I think that is what we need more than anything else. So because governments of the day would want to use power, the instruments of power, to subdue their opponents, and at the same time to basically act in dictatorial, despotic ways. And if you're there, as a member of Parliament, regardless of whether you're coming from the ruling party yourself, regardless of whether you have the numbers and the majority, then you need to come out into the open and say, no, this is not right. And invariably, in most cases, you get the critical mass who are going to support you. We've had to rule on issues ourselves in Parliament as a speaker and deputy speaker with my friend Merende, which were not that rosy with our own side of the divide. And we told them, sorry, we're not going to do this, because you might see a temporary scoring of a temporary, goal, but that's not good for the country in the long run. And we stood our grounds very well.
Help me with this before we take that break. If you were the speaker at a time when you must determine who holds the majority in the National Assembly, is it the coalition that had the majority before the Supreme Court?
No, the law is very clear.
Or is it politically the ones who've now crossed over?
There was the post. No. The law is very clear. The act,
I don't know if Musa might have a different view.
There was an act that was passed. And that act protects that law for, I think, about 6 months. And I don't know whether it's 6 months or 3 months. So you can then move as a coalition. You can join another coalition after that. But all those pre-election coalitions that were signed will hold for a certain period.
The current one, they actually signed.
Yes. Will hold for.
I don't know. It was
so even if they run
5 years.
Yes.
5 years being together. So you are captive. You are.
I don't think it's 5 years.
It is 5.
5 years.
The of political parties.
Yes.
I think.
So the law is very clear.
But I'm sure.
I don't know. People might want to go to court. But if you have to determine that, you determine that on the basis of the
law.
The law that's there.
But these members who consider yours could be voting with the other side.
Yeah.
It is there.
Yeah.
They have the right to do so.
They have the right
also,
to do. And they have a certain window, I think.
Even any marriage has its time limit.
There has to be
there can be a break of marriage in midway, even after the wedding.
Some people might want to go to court.
Some people might want to go to court?
Yes, which in my opinion, again, and then, of course, the Bill of Rights is there, the right to associate with anybody you want, the right of association.
Yes.
But you see, you still have that right of association, and somebody can argue that you practice that right when you're going into this coalition.
Yes.
You're associated with this, and you
signed some agreement.
You are cognizant of the fact that you signed this for. You opted to associate with these people for five years. So you better accept that marriage. It's just like prenuptials, the prenuptials.
Yeah, the prenup agreement.
So, the prenup agreements. I mean, they might not be very good at some stage later when things go bad, and one of you is very rich. But if the prenup agreement was there, then of course it's too bad.
I think that's a good place to take a break. I'm calling today's show Parliament 101. We're learning a lot from these veteran legislators. They've seen it all, they've heard it all, they've been out there, they are now back. And they are saying to young parliamentarians, there was a lot that used to happen in previous parliaments, and the quality and caliber of debate needs to come back. That's their cry, and I've seen an interesting message from one or two parliamentarians. I'll be reading them even as we continue. But let's take a short break. When we come back, I pick a few questions that you're posing to my two guests. We've got Musa Sirma. He was an MP. Eldama Ravine. He was also a minister, East Africa and Regional Cooperation. I also have the former Deputy Speaker, who was also a former MP, now back as the MP for Dadaab, Farah Maalim, who will be back with this and so much more after this short break.